the channel. I'm Chris. This is the Fixed Roof Coupe channel. If you have social media, hit me up on Instagram. Fixed Roof Coupe is my name. Got it from having the Corvette. So today I'm going to make a video and talk about 5 things that I hate about my C5 Corvette and 5 things that I love about the car. I see a ton of people do reviews, 5 things they love, or they have 5 things I love, or yada yada, or 5 easiest mods, free mods, that stuff. So make a quick one today. Hopefully it's not too long, but let's get started. The first thing that I think is a mutual hate for just about everybody that has a C5 Corvette, it's probably going to be this cup holder. I mean, what really can you put in there? You can't even put a to-go cup from like McDonald's or Wendy's or something. Yeah, you can't put a cup of coffee in it. Anything you put in there, you take a hard turn or even accelerating, it just moves around. They do have the little attachments that clip on here and bring it up to there. Those look pretty promising, but still. Number 2 on my list, there's no rhyme to reason on how I ordered these. The second thing I'm going to say is the electrical gremlins that these cars have, whether it's bad grounds, bad turn signal switches, headlight switches, hazard switches, the window switches don't light up half the time. You got your AC HVAC units, they got dim lights, the lights don't work, they don't display things, the heads-up display. I would say that's my second thing, electrical gremlins. Right now, my car, if I turn the headlights on, they'll pop up, no issue, my headlights will work. I won't have any dash lights. Then if I hit a bump hard enough, boom, they'll pop on. So clearly I have some sort of loose connection to background that I gotta figure out. Either that or I got a bad turn signal switch. A friend of mine has the hazard switch issue to where you hit the brakes and they all fluster, all the lights fluster, or his turn signals won't work. So we did the resistor that goes between the hazard switch and everything. That fixed the problem, but it's like, there's cars out there that are a lot more economic or cheaper cars or cheaply built things that have way better electrical systems than these. And I mean, come on, this was Chevrolet's top car in the 97 to 2000 era. Like, they skimped on a couple of things. My third complaint, and like I said, there's no rhyme to reason on it, is the interior in these cars. I mean, they look nice. They're like, you know, the way the dash is set up, it's got the handle on it and stuff, but you could just tell that the interior in these cars are cheaply made. The leather's so like crappy and brittle. The seats, the way they like bounce, they're supposed to be like a sports seat. They don't even really hold you in the car very well. That was one of the things that I had watched a video on, is a kid just simply switched from these stock style seats to like an aftermarket seat, like a Corbeau. And he was like, I swear to God, made the car 100 times better because it holds you in the seat when you're driving versus moving around. Don't know if that's true because I'm still rocking the stockers, but the interior, I mean, the shift boot I think is crappy. There's this thing right here. These, I always feel like I'm gonna break it every single time I open it. All the plastic interior panels, like the rubber that holds the headliner in up here, like you can see the headliner dropping down. And I mean, that's common for older cars. Every time I open up the visors here, I always feel like I'm gonna snap something. And that could just be because the car's 20 years old, but I feel like they kind of skimped out on the interior on these. They kind of went more for the looks on the car. My fourth thing on the list, I know that the cars were designed to be track cars, and that's what they had in mind, and then they released them to the general public, obviously, but the turning radius on these suck. You gotta do like a 4 or 5 point turn sometimes in the roads, and I live here in Mass, and the roads are pretty wide to where you could just huck a hard right and then do a complete loop around. Not in the C5. You have to turn around the driveway or do some sort of, you know, like I said, 3, 4, sometimes 5 point turns depending on how small the street is, and I don't know. My fifth complaint is gonna be squeaks. Suspension have squeaks, the way that they have the leaf spring where they connect to the suspension, there's always like some sort of squeak. People have to oil and grease them. I see some guys put cardboard between the leaf springs on the front end so they don't knock or squeak when they take turns. The suspension's squeaky, and the number one squeak I think everybody has is the stupid serpentine belt squeak. I don't know if it's because they did the 2-piece lower harmonic balancer, or if it's just the way that the water pump wears over time, or the pulleys, I don't know, but mine squeaks and it's annoying until it gets warmed up. I've replaced every hose, or not every hose, every single belt, the water pump, all the pulleys, and my last resort that I have to do now is my crank pulley. I bought a power bond. Mine's not even starting to separate and wobble, so I don't know what the squeak is, but I've changed everything except for that harmonic balancer. So let's go. And it was all replaced with AC Delco stuff. I don't like to use aftermarket. I only like to use factory stuff. My buddy works at the dealer and gets me a deal on stuff, so I always stick to AC Delco and factory GM. So now we'll turn on to 5 things that I love about the car, because let's face it, I love this car, and I'm sure you guys that have your C5s as well love yours. The first thing I love about my C5 Corvette is the fact that it's a fixed roof coupe / Z06 body. Traditional coupes and convertibles are good looking cars, don't get me wrong, but I think there's just something about the way that this car looks with the way that they designed this body style. For being 20 years old, I think it's sexy. I mean, this body was first designed in 99 when the first fixed roof coupe came out. 99 and 2000, the FRCs. 01, 04, they started them as Z06s, but I think it's just timeless styling on the way that they designed the hardtops. It's just something about them to me. You may feel different, which is absolutely fine, but this is how one of the things that I absolutely love about my car, and it probably is the #1 thing that I love about this car, is the way that the body looks on this particular C5. #2 on my list is going to be the rugged ride that the C5 has. The regular coupes and convertibles, they're rugged too. The hardtops and Z06 are a little bit more rugged because of the way the top was, and it makes it a little bit sturdier. I have I've driven coupes, and I've driven convertibles, as well as driven this one, and I do like the way that this drives a lot more than the traditional ones. But just the C5 in general, I mean, the earlier generations had traction control, and they didn't really start having the whole active handling and magnetic ride and all that stuff like the newer cars today. Like, I've driven C6s as well. They're borderline ruggedness feeling, but they don't feel as rugged as this. When you're driving a C5, you feel like you're still driving a car that is a race car. I don't know. That's just how I feel. It still has that rough feeling to it. You know what I mean? Like when you're slamming gears and taking corners, you feel everything, versus all the new stuff, it's like driving a Cadillac all the time. It's just so smooth, and you look down, you don't even know you're going 140, but you know you're going 140 in this thing because you feel like you're going to die. Not really, but you know what I mean. #3 on the things that I love is going to be the LS drivetrain. Getting into cars, I started driving in 2004. My first Chevrolet that I had got was an 86 Chevy K20 pickup truck. It was a 350 with a 4-speed manual that had the granny gear, so it was really a 3-speed manual. I learned how to work on cars because I was too broke to fix or to pay somebody to fix it. So that's how I got into doing mechanics, and I started getting into modifying stuff and kind of learning about motors. I rebuilt my first 350 when I was in high school, and I had to swap it into that truck. But the LS, the first time I really started digging with those and messing with those is when my father got a Silverado. He had a 99, and I started helping him fix stuff on that instead of bringing it to the mechanic. So I really got used to, the computers and the swap and the way that, like, they were very similar but still very different. And getting into this and really dealing with the LS1 and LS, and then a friend of mine, we did an LS swap in his Dodge Dakota. I took the 5.3 apart. They share a lot of parts and stuff like that. I will never mess with another small block 350, knowing these now. I have HP tuners. I have enough knowledge to make my own standalones and to mod them and put them into other things, adapt them to motor mounts, and put a turbo 400 on one of these or turbo 350 on them. They adapt just fine. You can do manual valve bodies, whatever you want. But just the LS drivetrain in general, I absolutely love them. I love that they're factory roller. I love how easy it is to do a cam swap, and that you can just use the dowels to hold the lifters in place and do a quick cam swap. They take quite a bit of time on these because you pretty much got to take the whole front of the car apart. But on pickup trucks and other cars, it's a lot simpler. Yeah, so LS drivetrain is definitely #3 for me. I think they are bulletproof, and I think the LS stuff is kind of like when Mopar had the slant 6s. They kind of outdid themselves when they made those because they're just so dependable. #3 on my list is that the C5 still has flip headlights. Personally, when I think Corvette, I think of flip lights. I know a lot of people are upset when they went to C6 and they made them just regular headlights. Those look good, don't get me wrong, but that's just one thing that I love about C5s is they still have flipped lights. I always thought that was a cool character that went with Chevrolet Corvettes. Number 5 on my list is going to be that the fixed roof coupe C5 actually has a functioning trunk. I know that the coupes, they do have the hatch, and there is quite a bit of room with the bubble back, but I like the fact that, you know, it's got an actual trunk. To me, it's definition of a grocery getter, and you can actually use it as one. Also, a little tip, I know that these don't really have a helper spring on them, and sometimes they're kind of a pain to lift up. So if you hit the trunk and close your door, the pressure from the seal of the door will actually lift the trunk for you. I know they do make the helper springs that bolt on here. I never took it apart or took the time to buy one, but just a little food for thought. Hit that trunk pop and then close your door. And those are gonna be the 10 things, well, the 5 things I love and the 5 things that I hate about my C5 Corvette. I hope you enjoyed the video. Comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff. I'm trying to grow my channel. I'll make another video soon. See you then.